Welcome back to Cord Cutting today. Some big things happening in the world of cord cutting we gotta go over, including YouTube TV adding some new channels that went live yesterday. We broke them before they even got live, thanks to a tip from a viewer here. Also, the FCC is looking to make some big changes to ownership caps of local ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC stations. We'll tell you what that means. And Fandango is making some big changes to its streaming service to try to take on Tubi, the Roku channel, Pluto TV, and more. Trying to get into that fast-growing, lucrative, free ad-supported space. We'll break down everything happening in the world of streaming here because there's a lot of other stories to talk about. But if you want to learn more about these stories and come up with your own opinions, if you want to read them yourself and don't take my word for it, check out the show notes and in the first pinned comment, I'll pull a link to every story there so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I want to hear from you. If you like what we do here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both, lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. All right, earlier this year in May, YouTube reached a deal with the Allen Media Group, the owner of the Weather Channel, some local stations, and some other stations like Cars.tv, HBCU Go, and others here to renew its contract with them and keep the Weather Channel there. Now with this, it seems they're adding some new channels like HBC Go, which focuses on historic black colleges and their sportings and other things there, Cars.tv, obviously a Cars network, and more are being added. These went live yesterday and should now be with everybody. If you have a custom channel guide, you may not see them because they're not, added by default. You have to go back and manually add them to your custom guide if you created one of those. But good news is the Weather Channel is not going anywhere, and good news is if you don't like these channels, you can hide them. It does come as increasingly these services are trying to rack up the number of channels. Philo's been doing this and more by adding smaller channels or even ad-free supported channels they can find on things like Pluto TV, Tubi, the Roku channel, and just cram them into either YouTube TV or others. It's a chance for them to say, hey, yeah, we're $82.99, but we have 100 plus channels or whatever the numbers. I think some people are seeing well over 100 channels now when you count your locals. Overall, YouTube TV continues to expand new content, new features, and more, and is currently either the second largest provider of TV of any provider in the United States, including cable providers. May even be the largest. They don't release subscriber numbers, but they're right behind Spectrum and growing, and Spectrum's been losing subscribers this year. We'll see what happens there. Now, Spectrum is about to buy Cox Communications. That would leapfrog them if they did get jumped, or at least pull away from them from YouTube. But YouTube TV in a firm second place here with all that. But we'll keep an eye on it. Did you notice any other new channels? If you notice something new, do me a favor. Go to Cord Cutters News, click on the contact us, send us an email. We do read all those. We can't reply to all of them because we get hundreds of messages from our social medias in different places. Don't just leave a comment here. It's hard to track those. It may get missed. cordcuttersnews.com/ click on the contact us there. It's a great way to get a hold of us. All right, let's keep moving along. Big changes coming to ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC owners. The FCC has announced on August 6th they will vote on eliminating ownership caps. Current rules have a 39% cap that one company, like Nexstar, cannot own more than 39% of ABC, CBS, Fox's, etc., and more in the certain market and national and all U.S. TV households. Now, with this, they're voting on changing that. That would allow them to go over that. Now, the argument here is that television ad revenue markets are changing, increased competition. When these rules were created, it was much different. Most people just watched the big four. There wasn't all these sub-channels. There wasn't huge penetration of cable and streaming. And so there's a consideration to change that. That'll be happening in early August, just a few weeks from now. This has been in the works for a while. TV station owners are eagerly applauding it and pushing it. Nexstar is because they want to buy Tegna and more. We'll be interested to see what happens. Nexstar CEO says he envisions a future where most local TV stations are just owned by a couple companies. Obviously, he wants to be one of those companies. Television's kind of going through what radio did 10, 15 years ago. The advertisers are fleeing to other options. Viewership is down on many of the smaller cable networks. Broadcast TV is still doing pretty well, but You compare primetime broadcast today to 10, 20, 30 years ago, you see a noticeable drop. It's a big, big issue there. We'll keep an eye on this. I suspect this is going to get approved. I can't imagine the FCC is going to turn this down. They've been looking at this for a while. They're calling a vote. They feel like they got the rules and everything in order to get it approved. I think then you're going to see a rush of mass consolidation where tons of local ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC stations are going to be bought up in a hurry. And we could see Sinclair, Nexstar, and others bought. Now, there's been a pushback. Who's going to be that? Is it Scripps buying them? You saw Sinclair try to buy Scripps. They've pushed back against that, and it didn't go through, at least not now. But will Scripps rethink that, knowing where the market's going? What does this mean for the consumer? We'll have to wait and see, but it will give local television station owners much more power when they're negotiating with cable and streaming options. Remember, these station owners have wanted to change the rules the way like YouTube TV gets its locals. Currently, most of these locals are getting their rights to streaming services sold by, for example, CBS sells all the CBS stations through Paramount. Paramount makes a deal with YouTube TV, all the stations go. Same with NBC Universal and others. Now with this, that means if they fail to reach a deal there, all the NBC stations are gone, like we just saw with Fubo. So we'll see. Will that change? Nexstar doesn't think they're always getting the best deal from the parent company. They would rather negotiate directly with something like YouTube TV. We'll watch it closely and see what happens, but for now, the FCC wants to change the rules that would create a future that would allow all that to become a reality. All right, let's keep moving on. Now, you probably heard us. We posted about this recently, several days ago. Fandango is renaming itself from Fandango at Home to just Fandango, the streaming service. Now, not new news. I'm glad everybody's finally jumping on that. They announced that yesterday, but we reported that a while ago. That's why you watch this channel and our website, right? Well, one thing that was in the they did announce is that they're increasing the catalog of on-demand content that's free from Versant, the USA Sci-Fi and that kind of content. Remember, that's the parent company of Fandango. It's going to be free there. There's a new Watch Now feature that start watching with a single click and other things. Basically, they're trying to launch an ad-supported streaming service to take on Pluto TV, Tubi, the Roku channel, and all the other ad-supported ones. One of the few markets that are seeing growth right now is free ad-supported streaming. These channels want in. Previously, they put their content on the Xumo streaming service that is owned by Comcast's NBC Universal. At least we're not quite sure where that's going in the split between there, but we'll get to that later. But now they're launching their own here. So one more free content. It'll be interesting to see how much exclusive content they have. Are we going to see a ton of Sci-Fi Channel or USA content that we're not seeing on Pluto, Tubi, the Roku channel, etc.? We'll wait and see. But that's what's different. Everything else, if you followed us, you've already heard that news. All right, a couple big TA in TV history ones. This one's hard to believe. It's now been 6 years since Peacock first launched. Peacock, the streaming service, launched on July 15th, 2020. Ran into all the craziness that was 2020 and really struggled to create a lot of content. Because of that, they started leaning into sports to fill the gap. And now Peacock is probably best known for exclusive sporting events like college football, college basketball, NFL games, and more. Now, Peacock is very popular, but has struggled to find growth in its subscriber base and is being spun off from Comcast and going with NBC Universal when NBC separates from Comcast to become an independent company. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Peacock after that, but now they are 6 years old. Also, now this one really hit me hard and you're probably going to feel old, but 10 years ago today, Stranger Things first premiered on Netflix and became a cultural phenomenon. Now, remember when the Department of Energy made a comment about how they don't do weird testing on alien things or whatever because of the TV show? I think they were just trying to get attention based on the popularity of the TV show. But Stranger Things was a blockbuster hit and really propelled its stars into the stratosphere, and now has finally come to an end after 10 years for the whole story to come to an end. But Stranger Things, now 10 years old. Any fans of Stranger Things? Leave me a comment, let me know. All right, now here's a big one that happened this week. 3 years ago, the SAG strike, the Writers Guild of America, had its strike and really changed the world of television. I talked a little bit about this, got some questions yesterday. Why did it change the world of television, that strike? Because it gave writers and actors more from streaming. A lot of people have accused it of raising prices, but at the same time, now it's much more profitable for streaming services and theaters. More to hire writers. The writers get now consideration for the cost of streaming, giving them the ability to be profitable on writing movies and shows that are meant for things like Netflix and more. It'll be interesting how that plays out, but that's been 3 years ago since that big strike. It's hard to believe. All right, a few other things. Paramount. Now, they threatened if the lawsuit went through, they would be leaving California, and the lawsuit happened. Now, Paramount is looking at possible locations, and Tennessee has popped up. They're making an aggressive push for Paramount to take Paramount and maybe Warner Bros. Discovery, if they win, from California out of Hollywood and move everything to Tennessee. There's also been talk about Texas being a lead option, and Florida also high on that list. But there's a growing number of states that are lining up to say, come to us. We're a much friendlier state to work in than California. This comes as a growing number of studios and productions and more have been leaving California for cheaper locations around the United States to either shoot their movies or even move their full operations or part of it with it. Disney's done this a little bit and even had looked at moving their Imagineering team, though ultimately that fell apart. A lot to do with politics. We'll keep an eye on it. But Paramount got a moving sign up and it's taking all the bids of whoever wants to invite them to come move there. All right, so what's the most popular streaming service out there? We asked you, or which one I should say is most used, is a better way to say it. We asked 1,200 cord cutters at Cord Cutters News, and overwhelmingly, Amazon's Prime Video was the most watched, with 67.5% of you say you do that, followed by, and I was actually kind of surprised how far back this was, Netflix at 54.1%, Paramount Plus came in at third, which kind of surprised me, at 51.7%, YouTube came in at 47.6%, Peacock at 43.1%, and it keeps going from there. Few things, these do not add up to 100% because we asked people for all the streaming services they used. One thing that's come up time and time again when we talked about that is what streaming do people get for free? A lot of people have Prime for the shipping and other benefits, and Prime Video they watch just because it's included. I have the Disney Plus bundle with Hulu and ESPN Plus for free with my Verizon wireless plan. No matter how many times they try to talk me into switching, I've been sticking with it. Because of that, I've been keeping it, and I get it for free as part of my wireless plan. It's a pretty good deal for me, much better than I think the newer deals are. But question for you. How many streaming services do you really go out of your way and pay for it yourself versus, hey, I have Walmart Plus, so I either get free Peacock or Paramount Plus. I have T-Mobile for free Netflix. I have Verizon, their discount, or if you're on a grandfather plan, free streaming options. How much of that do you do? Leave me a comment, let me know. All right, a few other quick stories here. I should have done this one earlier, but the Hollywood sign is now 103 years old. It was first put up way back in July 13th, 1923. Also, Pluto TV has added a new channel. If you're a fan of Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, there's now a 24/7 channel there. It's been there before. It's back again. If you enjoy it, you'll find it and more. Well, that's it for today. If you like these stories, you want them to your email box, check out the show notes. I have a link there to sign up for our free newsletter. Every morning you can get these stories delivered to your email box for free. Check it out there. Becca does a great job. If you like what we do here and you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button or hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, and hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. Until next time, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.